Hey guys, welcome to my first ever episode of Train Readings. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Union Pacific Big Boy number 4014. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Union Pacific 4014 is a preserved 4884-1 class 4884 Big Boy type steam locomotive owned and operated by the Union Pacific as part of its heritage fleet. Built in November 1941 by the American Locomotive Company in Schenectady, New York, it was designed to haul heavy freight trains in the Wasatch Mountain Range. The locomotive was retired from revenue service on December 7, 1961, and was donated to the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society. Thereafter, it was displayed in Fairplex at the Rail Giants Train Museum in Pomona, California. In 2013, Union Pacific reacquired number 4014 and launched a restoration project at its steam shop in Cheyenne, Wyoming. In May 2019, number 4014 moved under its own power after sitting dormant for almost 6 decades, becoming the world's largest operational steam locomotive and the only operating big boy locomotive of the 8 that remain in existence, and now operates an excursion service for the Union Pacific Steam Program. Number 4014 became the first mainline steam locomotive to be equipped with positive train control in 2021. The Big Boy class was developed by Union Pacific and built by the American Locomotive Company in the 1940s to handle the 1.14% eastbound ruling grade of Utah's Wasatch Range. A team led by Union Pacific's Chief Mechanical Officer Otto Jabelman adapted the design of the 4664 Challenger, enlarging the firebox to about 235 by 96 inches, lengthening the boiler, adding 4 driving wheels, and reducing the diameter of the driving wheels from 69 to 68 inches. The locomotives were equipped with a Hancock Long Bell 3-chime whistle. The Big Boy was articulated like the Mallet locomotive design, although without compounding. It was designed for stability at 80 miles per hour, allowing for a wide margin of reliability and safety, as steam locomotives normally operated well below that speed in freight service. Peak power was reached at around 35 miles per hour. Optimal traction effort was maintained up to around 10 miles per hour. It is longer than 2 city buses and weighs more than a Boeing 747 commercial aircraft. Alco built number 4014 in November 1941 at a cost of $265,174, which equals around $5,669,000 in 2025, and delivered it the following month to the Union Pacific Railroad, which placed it in revenue service. Number 4014 was part of the first group of 20 big boys called 4884-1. Designed to haul 3,600 short-ton freight trains over the Wasatch Range, the Big Boys routinely pulled freight trains of up to 4,200 short tons. During a test on April 2, 1943, number 4014 pulled 65 freight cars between Ogden, Utah and Evanston, Wyoming, generating a maximum of 5,534 horsepower. Number 4014's last routine repairs took place in 1956. The locomotive completed its final revenue run on July 21, 1959, just hours before the last revenue run by any big boy. It had traveled 1,031,205 miles during its revenue service. Union Pacific retired number 4014 on December 7, 1961. All the remaining big boys were retired by 1962, when their duties were taken over by diesel locomotives and gas turbine electric locomotives. That same year, Union Pacific donated number 4014 to the Southern California chapter of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society in Pomona, California, where it became one of the 8 big boys preserved around the United States. In late 2012, Union Pacific officials announced that they intended to obtain a big boy locomotive for restoration to operational condition for excursion service. On July 23, 2013, UP announced that the Southern California chapter of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society had agreed to return number 4014 to UP. On November 14, 2013, number 4014 began its journey to the UP Steam Shop in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It was pulled from its display site at the museum on temporary track through the adjacent parking lot. On January 26, 2014, number 4014 was pulled from the Los Angeles County Fairplex to the Covina station on Metrolink trackage by Union Pacific Heritage Unit number 1996, an SD70 ACE diesel locomotive painted in Southern Pacific colors. It presently arrived at the UP's West Colton Yard in Bloomington, California, where it sat on display until April 28th, when it officially began its journey to Cheyenne. After arriving at the Steam Shop's roundhouse on May 8th, number 4014 sat largely idle for 2 years while the UP Steam crew worked to overhaul FEF3 class number 844. The Steam Shop also used the time to expand and upgrade its facilities to accommodate a big boy. In August 2016, a month after number 844's repairs and inspection were complete, UP officials announced that restoration of number 4014 had officially begun under Heritage Fleet Operations Director Ed Dickens. By early 2017, the locomotive had been completely disassembled. Some new parts were fabricated, including the rod brasses, top boiler check valve, and lubricator check valves. The driving wheels were sent to be repaired by the Strasburg Railroad in Strasburg, Pennsylvania for crack pin and axle work, as well as installing new tires. The work included one major alteration, converting the coal-burning locomotive to run on number 5 fuel oil. This was done by replacing the firebox grates with a fire pan and an oil burner. This made number 4014 the first big boy to undergo a coal-to-oil conversion since number 4005, which ran on oil from 1946 until it was converted back to coal in 1948 due to uneven heating in its large single-burner firebox. Number 4014's old firebox grates were salvaged and used on the Milwaukee Road number 261 steam locomotive. In March 2018, it was reported that number 4014 was being reassembled. 10 months later, the locomotive's restoration was nearly finished. On February 6, 2019, number 4014's boiler passed a hydrostatic test and the locomotive was successfully test fired on April 9th. Around 9 p.m. on May 1, 2019, number 4014 moved under its own power for the first time in almost 60 years. Its tender, number 25-C311, originally belonged to Union Pacific Challenger number 3985, another locomotive in UP's steam program. The following evening, the locomotive made its first test run from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Nunn, Colorado. One estimate put the cost of the restoration at $4 million or more. Once restored, number 4014 joined the railroad's never-retired Union Pacific FEF-3 class number 844 steam locomotive in excursion service. It also became the world's largest operational steam locomotive, displacing UP number 3985. In May 2019, number 4014 made its first excursion run amid the celebrations marking 150 years since the completion of the first transcontinental railroad. Following its May 4th christening at the Cheyenne Depot Museum, number 4014, double-headed with 844, traveled to Ogden, Utah. Number 4014 subsequently made 2 tours on its own. From July 8th to August 8th, it visited the Midwestern United States, including brief stops at St. Paul Union Depot and the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. It then toured the southwestern United States from September 27th to November 26th. In January 2020, Union Pacific officials announced that the UP steam team would retire number 3985 since it was in poor mechanical condition. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, UP announced in March 2020 that it would cancel that year's steam operations. Excursion operations resumed in August and September 2021, with number 4014 doing tour stops in Fort Worth and Houston, Texas, New Orleans, Louisiana, North Little Rock, Arkansas, St. Louis, Missouri, and Denver, Colorado. In May 2022, the Railroading Heritage of Midwestern America in Silvis, Illinois, announced plans to convert the number 4014's original tender, number 25-C116, to carry number 5 fuel oil instead of coal. While the work proceeds, number 4014 is using the number 25-C311 tender, which will eventually be reconnected to the number 3985 locomotive, which was also donated by UP to the RRHMA. In late July 2022, number 4014 pulled the museum special excursion between Cheyenne and the Denver Union Station to benefit the Union Pacific Railroad Museum. On September 14, 2022, number 4014 was fired up to move Union Pacific number 5511 from the Cheyenne Roundhouse and around the yard for testing before the 210-2 locomotive was also donated to the RRHMA 2 months later. In June 2023, number 4014 ran from Cheyenne to Omaha, Nebraska with the Home Run Express Tour for display at Charles Schwab Field, Omaha on June 15th through the 21st and 24th through the 25th. During the return journey to Cheyenne on June 29th, number 4014 banked a stalled freight train up the grade in Blair, Nebraska. 2 cab rides on the July 3rd journey from Pine Bluffs, Wyoming to Cheyenne were sold for $9,500 apiece to benefit the Union Pacific Railroad Museum. Two tours were executed in 2024. The first ran from June 30th to July 26th, with stops at the Western Pacific Railroad Museum in Portola, California on July 10th, Roseville, California on July 12th and 13th, and Ogden, Utah on July 20th and 21st. The second tour began on August 28th and concluded on October 23rd. It included stops in Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, and Illinois. On the second tour's journey through Iowa in September, American comedian and former The Tonight Show host Jay Leno hitched a ride on number 4014 to film the episode for his YouTube web series Jay Leno's Garage. In December 2018, Union Pacific asked the Federal Railroad Administration to exempt UP numbers 4014 and 844 from federal positive train control requirements. 3 months later, the FRA officials responded that such waivers were not needed. In 2021, number 4014 became the first mainline steam locomotive to be equipped with PTC. Initially, its PTC display was powered by computers and equipment in its helper diesel locomotive, Union Pacific SD70M number 4015. However, in May 2024, PTC equipment was installed in a cabinet in the tender, and a third dynamo added to the locomotive provided electrical power, allowing number 4014 to run without a diesel helper. Well guys, that about wraps it up for the very first episode of Train Readings. If you enjoyed it, please let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to need some water after all that talking. See ya!